Shalom to the 144,000 and rest of you elect out there. Shalom to you all. I'm going to try to make this quick. This is almost like a back to basics video. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video, Even ChatGPT Knows the Prophecies Better Than You Christians. Or I might change it up a little bit. Anyway, I said, let me go to chat. I did this yesterday. I said, let me go to chat and let me put in Daniel 9:27. Now, if you go to Pam's, which is, what's this guy? Philip Anthony Michael, the 2819 church, which 2819 represents, is Matthew 19, go to all the nations, preaching the gospel, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So he's using that whole idea to push that this is for not just the Israelites, this is for the Gentiles. He came on the scene. You know what? He's probably set up by the elite to kind of counteract the Hebrew Israelite thing, because his whole organization is based on this is for the other nations. And it's the word 2019 church. So I come across his videos every once in a while, and he was going into breakdowns, the end of the world, prophetic scriptures, and he was going through Daniel 9:27. I believe he's at 24. He went into 27 verse, and he was dead wrong. He's going into the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is going to come, and there's going to be a rapture, which the Christians teach that Daniel 9:27 is a rap. They start at the 24th verse, and they'll say, well, that's the Antichrist, and there's going to be a rapture, and the believers, you're gonna be lifted up, and the rest of you are going to be left behind. Well, then what about the Lord coming back? What about the righteous scarcely making it, which you claim to be the Christians? So anyway, he broke it down totally wrong. He broke it down the way most, if not all, Christians break it down. If you go to Daniel 9:24 to 27, mainly 27, they'll say it's the Antichrist, and it's getting ready to happen, and there's going to be a rapture. Like I said, I'm gonna try not to make this long. So I said, let me go to chat. So I put in Dan 9:27. Dan 9:27 is a verse from the Old Testament of the Bible, specifically from the book of Daniel, which contains prophetic visions. Here's how the verse reads in the New International Version, the NIV. He will confirm. Oh, that's the Antichrist. He, see, a covenant with many for one 7. Now in King James it says 1 week, and they're going to tell you. Chat is going to tell you what the 70 weeks represent. The 7 week. In the middle of the 7, or the middle of the week, he will put an end. So they call it the 7-year tribulation period. By the way, this already took place. We're talking more than 2,000 years ago. And end the sacrifice and offerings. Because when the Messiah was on the scene, the Israelites were still offering up sacrifices. So this is in Palestine. And that more than 2,000 years ago, when the Messiah was on the scene. And at the temple, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation. And most Christians can't get this. Even if you tell them this is not talking about the Antichrist, this is not a future event, this is a prophecy that already took place. So who's the abomination that causes desolation? They don't know. Including these so-called scholars, these individuals that spend X amount of years at a theological cemetery, I call it, and they don't understand. They don't teach. They really don't go into prophecies because they don't know the prophecies in the first place. You have these evangelicals that say, "Oh, that's talking about the Great Tribulation, and we're going in the 7 years. In the middle of the 7 year, we're going to be lifted up, and the Antichrist is going to do what he's going to do." And it's one man. It says, "Until the end that is decreed is poured out to him." Now, you know what? I have to read it. I would be remiss if I didn't read it in the King James and maybe even in the NLT. You know me, I focus on a lot of prophetic scriptures. I'm not telling you how to keep your wife happy. You told her, "How do I keep my wife happy?" I said, maybe she's not happy no matter what you do, so maybe you should just fucking cut her off or something. I'm not saying that because, the Apocrypha says this. If she goes not the way. Now, how do you answer that? Oh, you can't divorce your wife. Well, then the Apocrypha says if she goes not the way you wanted to go, then cut her off and give her a bill of divorce. Are you going to hold it out? So maybe we shouldn't be reading the Apocrypha, right? Okay, so now let's come over here. We're in the King James. Back to the basics, back to the basics, back to the basics. You know me, I focus on prophecy. Let's let it come up. Yeah, I was listening partially, and I couldn't listen to it no more. It was like somebody taking fingernails and scraping it across a chalkboard. They had a little debate with it was Hakar and Assad against believers of the way. And believers, I heard them, but I said, these guys, they're lost. Bo, it's not that I hate them. I don't know them personally. It might be cool people, but the spirit of the Most High is not dealing with them guys at all. And this guy, what's the main guy's name? I heard his name last night. The lighter skinned one. He thinks he's the shit, and he's completely lost. He's going into other books, and he's trying to sound like he's got a debate spirit on him. He'll go to a certain book that Edomite wrote, and this. First of all, that's an easy thing to go into. To make a person understand. I'll get back into the main subject. Don't you worry about that. I'm gonna get back in the main subject. Anyway, that's an easy debate. What is it? When does the Sabbath come in? Does it come in on a Friday sundown, a Saturday sundown, or does it come in based upon the new moon? Well, that's easy. It comes in based upon the new moon. All you need is one precept. What is it? Leviticus 23. Just start at the first couple of verses. First 1, 2, 3, 4 verses. Everything in that chapter is everything that you do is based upon the new moon. But somehow the Sabbath is not based on it. It tells you 6 days work shall be done, and the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. Based upon what day? It's based upon when the new moon comes in. How do we know that? Because the whole chapter, every high holy day is based upon a new moon. But so why? And I wouldn't even have that argument. I wouldn't even have that debate. It says, these guys like that debate thing. They like to sound like they're smart, like they're top. We went up against the Edomite scholars. You get off on that. I'm talking about you celebrity Israelites. And Hakar and Hassad are celebrity Israelites. Captain Tazariak, a celebrity Israelite. Bishop Nate, a celebrity Israelite. It says a cult of person. Bishop Nate is a cult of personality. And he shall confirm the covenant. Let's talk about the Most High's covenant with the body of belief. No. The covenant just means agreement, and the he is talking about the Romans with many of the Israelites for 1 week. 1 week represents 7 years. And in the middle of the week, that's 70 AD. So you go three and a half years to on one end, 3.5 years to the other. So we're talking about 66 AD. Who was in power at that time? Nero. Right? The middle of the week, the in the midst of the week, who was in power? Titus. That's what it's talking about. He shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. Meaning they're gonna overrun Palestine, Jerusalem. They're gonna tear down the wall. They're gonna build the wall, and they're gonna breach the wall of Jerusalem, and they're gonna take the land, and they're gonna break the temple down. That's what this is talking about. And for the overspreading of abominations, because they're not supposed to come into the Holy of Holies, right? That's in Revelation 11. Esau, if you're of another nation, you can't. You can only go as far as the Gentiles could go, which is the outer court. You can't go into the inner court. And then the Holy of Holies is for the priests. So they went into a place that they shouldn't be at. He shall make it desolate. What shall he make desolate? The temple. There shall not one stone be left upon another. So this is 70 AD, headed by Titus, the Roman general. Even until the consumption and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. The desolate are us. Let me look up the word consumption. Even until the consumption. Let me go ahead and look up this word consumption. I should look up the word desolate. We know these words, but sometimes the Hebrew gives it a different meaning. Desolate. Excuse me. Poured. Consumption. The word is kala. End. Consume. Destroy. Completion. Termination. What did they destroy? They destroyed the temple. Full end. Shall not one stone shall be laid upon another that shall not be thrown down. Complete destruction. Because the temple was built in Solomon. It was destroyed with the Babylonians and Edomites. It was built up. So when the Romans came in, they destroyed the second temple. So now you got these people over there in Israel talking about we got to build a third temple. They don't understand. The third temple is a spiritual temple. It's the Israelites. Consumption, alienation, completion, completely together, complete destruction, consumption, annihilation. And they got the upper hand. We had to flee. So let me look up the word desolate. Desolate. The word is shamam. Desolate, amazed, wondered, destroyed. Right, you have like a ghost town. You have buildings, but nobody's in there, and grass growing all over the place. They showed you that in the movie I Am Legend, starring Will Smith. The opening scene, he was going down Park. He was going uptown Park Avenue. I've been on Park Avenue millions of times. He going right into the that roundabout that circles the Grand Central Station. So that there was no people living. So he can go in there to a car dealership and get whatever car he wants, drive it around, get tired of it, get another car. Okay, so it means to be utterly destroyed. The temple was knocked down, sacked. Let's come back over here. And not one Christian understands this, except you're an elite scholar. You do, or the ChatGPT. I'm sorry, let me come back over here. Okay, so I read it in the NIV. It says, come back over here. Okay, it's pretty much short. Okay, key themes and interpretations. He will confirm a covenant. Many scholars see he is a reference to a future ruler or the Antichrist in Christian eschatology, the end of all things, study of the end of something. They're wrong on that. Let me read that again. Many scholars see, these scholars don't, when it comes to, you deal with a guy that claims he's a scholar, going to they can't deal with the prophecies. They can't deal with the prophecies. As a reference to future ruler of the Antichrist. There's no such thing as a Joe Antichrist. There's no such thing as one, well, that's the Antichrist in Christian eschatology. So Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is not dealing with the Christians, period. Others suggest it's referring to a historical figure such as Antiochus IV Epiphanes, which that's wrong too. And even Israelites to say that. No, that's talking about Antiochus Epiphanes. No, it's not. Or the Roman Prince Titus. It's talking about the Roman Prince Titus. Or the Roman General Titus. Let me come back over here. So who's the he? And like I said, most Israelite groups get caught up on this. And he. So the he, if you want to put one man to it, the he is Titus. But the he represents the Roman military. Shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of the week, he shall. Well, this is during the time period of Nero up until Titus. When you go to Daniel chapter 11, and it says the king of the south said this and the king of the north said that, it ain't talking about one king. It's talking about different kings dying and new kings coming up, and they refer to him as this one king, the king of the north and the king of the south. So the he represents from the beginning, if we're talking about the week, it started with Nero, which Nero's here today, and it's going to end with Titus. So you got to explain it that way. Now, if you just say, well, let's talk about Titus, okay, you can say that. We come back over here. Epiphanes, or the Roman Prince or General Titus. When they say Titus, they're correct. It's talking about that time period. The 7 or a week, right. When you go to Genesis and you read about Jacob, spending 21 years to get both daughters of Laban, and then he had to do the initial 7 years to get her substance. So he worked 21 years to get the 2 daughters. He wanted the one, he wound up getting the 2 for 1, right? And that the Spirit worked it out that way. It wasn't that Laban was being wicked. The Spirit worked it out that way because the Most High wanted him to get 2 of them. Even though he liked the one, he wound up getting both of them. And that's before the law of Moses, when it said you cannot lay with a woman and a sister. Back then, you can lay with a woman and her sister. Okay, the 7. Now I want to show you something. Let me see. Week. I was listening to some of the live that Dallas, GMS Dallas was putting up with the Yeshawan, but the rest of them, there was a couple of them out there. And they were reminiscing how when they first started watching the videos and we mentioned the book of Habakkuk and what other books did we mention? I think we mentioned Obadiah. He said, what the hell is that? I never heard of that. Because in the churches, you ask a Christian, what part of the Bible is the book of Obadiah? Ain't no Obadiah, it's in the Quran. Because they don't know. They don't know these books. Give me a second here. Okay, boom. I found it. Genesis 29:28. And Yaquab did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. So what does it mean? He fulfilled her week. I already know what it means. Most of y'all know what it means. It means 7 years. We don't need to do that. You know what? Let me go ahead and do it anyway. Bear with me for a minute, y'all. Let's just see what the hub says. Okay, here it is right here. Overview, AI overview. This fulfills Jacob's agreement to work another 7 years for Rachel after being tricked into marrying Leah. So I don't have to go to the Bible Hub. So that's pretty much common knowledge. So now let's come on back. Where are we? So that week, this 7 or week, which represents 7 years, is typically, so now you go back to Daniel 7, in the King James it says that week is talking about 7 years. So that's how you break it down. The scriptures interpret itself. It's typically interpreted as a symbolic period of 7 years, which is correct. The 7 weeks. Okay, if a week is 7 and 7 times 7 is 70, which is 7 years times, matter of fact, it says the 70 weeks prophesied in Daniel 9 is often understood as 70 periods of 70 years, which is totaling 490 years. When you go back, do the math, and you go back, I believe that's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I broke it down to 515. I'm not going to do the math, but this is the time period when they got the decree. They had to go into the records of what Cyrus said, that they're going to finance the rebuilding of the temple. He had long died, so they said they weren't going to finance him. He said, but Cyrus said we're going to be financed to rebuild the temple, so they had to go to the records. Esau got records on your ass because where did you think he got it from? He got it from the ancient world. In the ancient world, they kept records. He'll go back 10 years. Esau, he'll go back 10 years and get your record, your arrest record. He'll go back 10 years and go back to, you got 3 arrests in the last 50 years you've been on this earth. And they'll use it against you too, these devils. What about the Day of Atonement? You fucking devils. It says in the middle of the week or the 7 years, he will put an end to sacrifices. When did it happen? That's when the Roman general Titus came in. He will put an end to sacrifice. So Jake had to flee. This suggests a break in religious rituals. Right, sacrificing animals, the temple. The temple was destroyed, possibly through the destruction or desecration of the temple. Wasn't I saying that? The destruction or desecration of the temple. Antiochus did defile the temple, but that's not what this is talking about. So anybody that says, "Oh, Daniel 9:27 is talking about Antiochus," nope. Abomination that causes desolation. That's also in Matthew 24:15. I believe you can start the 14th verse. A pivotal phrase. Now, what's that talking about? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to go to the AI. I know what it means. I know what it is. Phrase also echoes in the New Testament. So you can't say Matthew 24 is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, because Antiochus Epiphanes is long dead. It refers to something sacrilegious set up in the temple. No, they just went in the temple, which could be an idol or pagan. Well, that's what Antiochus did. But you going in the temple as a heathen is a defiling the temple, whether you put something in there or not. Because Antiochus Epiphanes put a pig up in there until the end, that is, the creed is poured out. The end of who? The end of the temple, the end of Israel being in the land of Israel. They had to flee. To this very day, we haven't come back as a people. That's why I said in Matthew 24, the Gentiles, matter of fact, I'm going to go to it. So these Christians don't know prophecy. They'll say, "Oh, we're known for yelling at people." We don't yell at people going down the street. We just speak. We speak into the camera. So where you get that from? Yo, sis, let me ask you a question. You know you an Israelite? No, we don't do no shit like that. Hey, bro, let me ask you a question. We already got the fame. Everybody, any Jake that passed by the camp already seen the Israelites on YouTube. Let me do this. Okay, in the gospel of the kingdom, it's actually the 15th verse. In the gospel of the kingdom, will preach in the whole world, a witness against all nations, and then shall the end come. This is talking about now. What made the gospel worldwide? Us going on the web. We reach more people than the Messiah and the disciples and the Apostle Paul ever did reach. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Yahweh flee into the mountains. This is talking about what? Matter of fact, let me do this. And see, the thing with these clown-ass Christians, when you show them that they don't understand this prophecy, no, that's what it's talking about. No, if you do. That's why I don't deal with them. They're bugged out. They're fucking bugged out. So let's go to AI. Let's see what it says. In Matthew 24:15 refers to the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel, which Yahushua prophesied would stand in the holy place, the temple of Jerusalem, before the destruction of the city. This event serves as a signal to believers to flee Judea. What destruction of what city? It's talking about Jerusalem. Let's open this up. abomination of desolation. Right. Also, Daniel 12 and 11. A lot of people get that wrong. Daniel 12 and 11 refers to the desecration of the temple, often interpreted as the presence of a pagan idol or the act of sacrifice of foreign god within the temple. No, you defile it when you go into the Holy of Holies. When you go past, you go into the inner court, you defile the temple. You go into the Holy of Holies, you defile the temple. You go into the treasury, you defile the temple. And they robbed the temple to build up the Colosseum. Here it goes. Wow. Historical context. And in Matthew 24:15, Yahushua is speaking to his disciples about the destruction of Jerusalem, which Matthew 24 was talking about the destruction of 78 AD and now. Which you got some, even certain Israelites, they'll read it and they'll say, all that whole chapter is talking about the end time. No, part of it is talking about 70 AD. So it's talking about two destructions, which ultimately occurred in 70 AD with the Roman siege and destruction of the temple. Many scholars believe this event fulfills the prophecy of the which they're correct. The destruction of Jerusalem by the Roman army led by Titus. We know who the real Alexandria was. This guy, I forget his name. Tiberius Alexander. He was a real general, but Titus got the credit. In 70 AD is widely seen as the historical fulfillment of this prophecy. The Roman soldiers desecrated the temple, offering sacrifice to their pagan gods, which is seen as the abomination that causes desolation. Some interpret the prophecy of the abomination of desolation as also having a future eschatological fulfillment, with the Antichrist possibly setting himself up as an object of worship, according to some interpretation of Revelation 13 and 14. No. They got that wrong. They got it wrong. So let's come on back. Abomination that causes desolation, a pivotal phrase also echoed in the New Testament. Example given Matthew 15, which is correct. It refers to something sacrilegious set up in the temple, which they defile it as soon as they go into the temple, which could be an idol or pagan sacrifice, which that's what Antiochus did, putting a pig up in there until the end, that is, this creed is poured out. We had to flee out of that land. A lot of us got killed. Some of us took heed of what Yahushua said and fled. Indicates divine judgment will ultimately fall on this ruler. No, the judgment is going to fall on us. Read again. Would you like a comparison with other translations, KJV or ESV or NLT, or an explanation from a specific theological perspective? Christian, Jewish, historicist, futurist. Right, futurist. Let me look that word. We went through this last week. Futurist. I put Bible for a reason. In the context of Bible interpretation, futurism is a view that interprets specific prophetic passages, particularly in the book of Revelation, as events that will occur in the future rather than in the past or present. Like, so we would be considered futurists. You eschatologists say everything was already fulfilled. Look up William Bell, Jake. He's a eschatologist, and he said everything already took Revelation. Everything already took place, which is foolish. Futurists believe that these prophecies, including those related to the end times, the second coming of the Messiah, and establishment of a new heaven and new earth, are yet to be fulfilled. So we are futurists. The Israelites, the former One Westers, the what do you call them? Messianic Israelites, Messianic Hebrews, mainly the truth came out of One West. The focus is on the One Westers, not these Yah Israelites. Not these Israelites over there in Dimona, Israel. They're insignificant. They're not a threat. If they were a threat, them small hats would have got them out of there. Would have dropped bombs on them or whatever. They got them on a damn nuclear field any fucking way. So they hot and toasty, if you know what I mean. So anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. On to the next shalom.